Hello guys, I'm Super Ron, welcome back to the channel, and this week we're doing a recommission on this absolutely stunning 1986 E28 M5. So you might be thinking this M5 looks a little bit familiar because we have had a 1986 E28 M5 in this colour on the channel already. I did lots of fault diagnosis, but this is in fact another car. The customer found us through the videos and needed a similar project doing on his own car. So he brought it down to us and we got to do a big recommission on this because it's been off the road for over 10 years. And inside it is just as stunning and original. Got the high quality M5 leather. These are real buckety seats in the back as well. And the fronts have the stunning electric leather seats. Everything is on clicky buttons. So the front goes in and out there. Old school technology, everything is on individual buttons. So like the other one, these are for the seats. So like the buttons here, everything is electric and adjustable. And the thing I like the most in the other one, it's even got electronic headrests, so they go up and down. Super cool. But this one is even higher spec than the other one, because it looks like this one has actually got memory seats and also got heated seats as well. So this one's got even more ticks. So if we turn the ignition on, let's see if it's got a memory saved. Very, very cool. But what's come as a bit of a shock, I've just done a history check on it, and its last MOT was in 2009. So it hasn't had an MOT for 13 years. So this has obviously been dried, stored away somewhere. It drove around until early 2010 and then it was tucked away. So we're gonna go top to bottom, get it fully mechanically recommissioned, get it through an MOT and get it back on the road and back to the customer. So this is the same inline six with the independent throttle bodies. Under here looks very, very tidy and original as well. So obviously with it being sitting so long, we're gonna do a full fluid change, check all the belts. These are timing chains, so we don't have to worry about that. We'll drop the coolant, power steering, engine oil, probably the stinky washer fluid as well, and get this running sweet again. Let's have a look underneath. So underneath, all looks good. There's a few oil leaks. The customer mentioned that the power steering leaks a lot, which is what all this oil is everywhere. Actually put a little rag below the reservoir. So we'll see if we can solve that. But generally, the engine doesn't look too bad. Nice and dry down the side of the block. Nice and dry at the back, where the rear main oil seal is. There's the clutch. Gearbox all looks nice and dry. Got all genuine exhaust still on it. It's got oil down this side from that leaky power steering reservoir. Overall, looks pretty good in here. Still got all the original stickers on the gearbox. Everything looks nice and free. No boots are split. So for the last 13 years, it must have been kept in a nice dry garage. The fuel filter up there. Well, it's had a new genuine back box put on it. See there, the BMW sticker. So it's obviously not been on there very long and not been on the road with it, because those stickers don't last very long. Everywhere else, tyres all look good. Maybe got an old date stamp. 2010 date stamp there, so they were probably put on for the last MOT. Four matching tyres all round. The wheels are all absolutely pristine. So first off, let's give this a wash down, get rid of all that oil and see if we can see where it's coming from. That's better. So one thing good about oil leaks is they definitely help with the rust prevention, because this is looking very, very nice under here. So in the boot as well, everything looks nice and pristine. All the little covers are here. Got a genuine BMW battery as well. Under here, the spare tyre still there. Even M5 specific spare wheel. See what the date stamp on this is. Before the year 2000, they only used a 3-digit number. So we've got 326 here. So that means it's a 32nd week and the year ends in a 6. But there's no way of telling whether that's an 86 or 96, which is why they come up with the 4-digit number. But as this is an 86 car, that is most probably the original spare tyre and wheel on there. Never been used. And up here, which is what I came in the boot for, is the original toolkit. All fully stocked with the lock and wheel nut key. And over this side should be the original jack and the centre cap remover. All the original BMW. And looking in there, it's all still on its original arches as well. Been no bodywork done in here at all. It's nice to see. So this is the wheel that is locked on. So I've got to see why this brake is binding. Something is stuck, that's for sure. So I was just looking at this old MOT in 2009. Brake pad warning light on the dash. Centre rear exhaust has part of the system slightly deteriorated. So that's when it got its new back box. Near side inner tyre worn close to the legal limit. Offside front tyre worn close to the limit. Offside rear tyre worn close to the legal limit. Rear brake discs pitted and scorn. So that is when it got its new exhaust system and its 4 new tyres, which match up with the date stamps. And it had done 147,000 miles back then. And now on the dash, it's done 152. So did 5,000 miles that year and then got sat up. But something strangely I've just seen on here, we've got a little bit of masking tape and it kind of says the service history. So in 2014, had an oil and filter change at the 152,000 miles it's on now. And then 6 years later, had another oil and filter change at 581 miles. So it hadn't moved since 2010. Then after 4 years, he gave it an oil and filter change. And then another 6 years later, gave it another oil and filter change. But by the mileage, it hadn't actually moved. But now 3 years later, it's gonna get an oil and filter change and then carry on its life. Right, I'm gonna start with the diff at the back. Just gonna catch it in here to see how much is in there. It should be 1.9 litres. See if we can do it without making a mess. Oh, clean fingers. Looks like it was a little bit low. We've got the new stuff to go in. Diff done. Gearbox next. 1.2 litres, a little bit low. All right, fuel filter time. See if these bolts will come undone. And brand new genuine filter. Even got the same part number that came off. Let's get that on. And I'm gonna stick a new hose on as well because that one was looking a little bit crusty. But you can see the build date on this one, 3rd of the 5th, 22. Build date on this one, 16th of the 7th, 2004. So that one's been on there nearly 20 years. So it just goes to show all these brand new BMW parts, they're not old stock, they are still producing stuff for cars that are nearly 40 years old. And there's the new one all fitted, with a new hose there. I put a new hose at the back as well. So that's good to go. Let's carry on. And the engine oil, clean fingers again. And the oil filter, these are a cartridge insert like a modern car, but BMW had the good idea of putting a little drain on it so you can let the oil out before you undo the main bolt and get covered in oil. So we'll undo that, let that drain out, then take the filter off. Go, let that drain out. And again, like for like, in fact, exactly the same. Let's get this new one in. Next, we've got spark plugs. So we have the same problem we have with the 911s. Our spark plug socket doesn't fit down the hole. So off we go back to the toolkit, because these have their own specific thin-walled spark plug socket. Well, definitely think it can benefit from these. Should make it run a lot better. And the last filter is the air filter. Couple of 10 mils. And just wanted to have a little check at this power steering leak. But it looks like it is pooling on top of this hose here. And it's actually not tight, so it could just be a loose Jubilee clip. So I'll tighten that up and then we can run it up and see if it's still leaking. And a bit of fresh fuel. Better. Even in here, it shows how original it all is. It's quite easy for us to see where it's a restoration just by the sealer marks and the paint edges. But this one is completely original. The battery was flat when it came in, and we've been charging it up on the trickle charger. We've got an intelligent charger so that can tell us how it's doing, and it was showing as a full 12 volts. But as soon as you went to turn the car over, it would just drop. So it must have a cell down from being flat for so long. But of course, the genuine BMW batteries are still available. But something I've just noticed is this one was actually a little bit short, because you can see down the bottom there, the clamp doesn't reach the battery. So this wasn't clamped down, whereas the new one is a little bit longer. So we'll get that in, clamp down, and then we should have all the bolts. There's the new battery all in, and as you can see, it's quite a lot bigger, and now the clamp actually fixes the battery down. So we are in, connected, and we should, hopefully, fire straight up. So it's been running for a little while now. It's all up to temperature. Even the electronic fan at the front's kicked in. It all seems good. All nice and crisp. Sounding like it should. Onto the brakes. And they are not coming out. Whew. Finally, we're off. Genuine BMW pads, and they're still brand new. So let's see if we can get this caliper freed off. And a brake fluid change was on the cards anyway. As you can see, it'll definitely be needed. So I've tried freeing this caliper off, pushing them in and out, twisting, but they have not moved a millimetre. They are C-solid. But luckily, we've got a full caliper rebuild kit. We actually got it for the other M5 in anticipation, but didn't end up using it. So we've got all new seals, new pistons, everything to rebuild these calipers. So it's quite handy being an M5 specialist and having stuff in stock. So let's get these stripped out.
Man, these are not going anywhere. I've just about managed to get one popped out, but the other three are seized in there solid. I was putting an airline in the back of it, trying to blow them out, and that's how I just about managed to get that one out. Just putting air pressure where the brake line normally goes on the back, but the rest of them, not a millimetre. Usually with a standard caliper, you just put the airline on and it pops out. But when you've got 4 pots, it's not quite so easy, because as soon as one pops out, you've lost your air pressure and you've got no push for the other 3. So I'm just going to have to try and get these manually. As you can see, they're in real rough shape. No wonder they're seized in. And try and get them out. I've got them soaking at the minute, so we'll leave them for a minute, see if that helps. And I'll check the other 4 corners, see what they're like, and go from there. Luckily, the rears all seem okay. Piston's nice and free. That just pushed back with my hands. Looks like it's got new handbrake shoes in there. Genuine BMW ones. And the discs and pads look new. They're just a bit rusty, so I just give them a tickle off so they're ready for the brake test on the MOT. So rears can all go back together, and we'll try and get these fronts off. Here's the other front one. And although they were just about moving, you can see by the seals there, they're all perished. So this one's not going to be long before that seizes up. So as we've got the system all apart and we've got the spare parts, I think I'll pop these ones out and redo these ones as well. Well, they're not moving very fast. Side's not looking any better. It's going to be fun. And finally, last ones are out. What a pain that was. So these are pretty grotty. I think we'll give these a dunk in the ultrasonic cleaner and get them cleaned up. Let that warm up. 50 degrees, that'll do. In they go. Let the bubbles begin. And done. Look at them, straight out of the oven. Much cleaner. So now we can get them back in the workshop and reassemble. Let's get these blown out and built up. And there they are, all back together. I've got all new seals, new retaining rings, new pistons, all the faces are cleaned up, all the seals are on, so I've just got to bolt them together like this one I've just finished, and then we can get them back on the car and all bled up. And back on, and gave it a little bit of wheel silver just for good measure, because it seemed a shame to all the goodness to be on the inside. So now let's bleed up all the brakes. I'm going to give it a full bleed, empty all the lines and get some new fluid through. And all bled up, went around all 4 corners. I ended up putting over a litre through until it ran clear out of the 4 corners, and did the clutch as well because that shares the same reservoir. And this was the fluid that came out. The new stuff that goes in is just about clear, so you can see that's been in there a long while. Right, the mechanical's all done. Let's start looking at the electrics, see what's working. I noticed we've got a door lock down over there, so we'll check all the central locking, see what's working in here. Runs a lot nicer now. That old fuel was just clearing itself out. Oh, we've got no rev counter, no indicators. Good start. No wipers. We've got side light, one fog light. Main beam's working, no horn.
Right, let's give these a wiggle. Ah, we have hazards. Fix it. BMW technician. Let's put a fuse in the fog light
because that was missing.
Two fog lights. It's flying. See what else we've got. Dip beam, main beam, fog light, indicator, side repeater. No hazards again. So looking down the fuses, down, down, down. This fuse here, turn signals, gauge, windscreen wipers, horn, everything that's not working is on the same fuse. So if we look at this one here, it's got one in it, looks alright. But the end is missing. Plastic isn't a great conductor. So let's put another fuse in, see if it starts working. Wipers fixed. Horn. None of these fuses are looking great, so I think I might just change all of them and we won't have to worry. This diagnostic is turning out to be quite easy. Fuse, everything's working. So now we should have side lights, dip beam, main beam, fogs, indicator, hazards, horn, side lights, fog, indicator, hazards, brake, and reverse. No reverse. We'll have to have a little look at the sensor underneath, I think. And changing that fuse 17, it's even got the rev counter working. So I've been doing a little bit of work inside, getting these electrical gremlins sorted out. The rear electric windows, that side didn't work at all, and this side would go down but not up. So I whipped the door cards off, put 12 volts to the motors, and they went up and down fine, so we knew it wasn't the motors seized. So I started tracing the wiring back. I remember on the other one, the rear electrics didn't work, and it was a join where it goes through into the door. The wires were broke there, but this one was fine, so I carried on tracing it back, and it turned out it was the buttons at the front. The contacts had gone dry. They'd arced across and stopped working. So I managed to take them apart, get some contact cleaner, clean it all up, and now they are working. But when I was looking where the switches are and getting them all out, I saw this plug here as well. And I thought, that's the reverse switch that goes through down to the box. Pulled it out, and that's why the reverse isn't working. And it looks like they've got some war wounds, and it's not a cut, that's been ripped off. So I reckon where that goes through, at some point this has got wrapped around the prop shaft and just ripped itself off. So let's go underneath and see if the other end is still attached to the reverse sensor in the gearbox. So looking underneath at the gearbox, see if we can find our switch. There's a switch there with the wires still attached. So it's still attached there. But if we go backwards to where it should go through the boot, we found the other end of our loom. Not connected. And there's the reverse wire loom. These are a bit old to have Bluetooth wiring, hence it didn't work. So this one is pretty beaten up where it's chewed around the prop. So I think I'm just going to run a new wires and connect them up to the plug inside, and then we'll have a full house. And in fact, you can even see the green and the blue off the insulation where it's wrapped around there. So I ran a cable up and just join that to the original loom, so we've still got a plug so it can still unplug if needed. But now we should have reverse lights. So now we have got a full house, all MOT ready. And we just had another BMW delivery, so we've got all the coolant for the coolant change. And the other thing we noticed, the boots were split, so we've got still brand new, and all the bolts as well, all genuine, so we can get them in. And you might also notice that we're missing the headlights. We put it in for a preliminary MOT, and although all the lights were working, something we didn't consider is the beam pattern. They put it on their beam pattern machine and it was all showing kicking to the wrong side. And what it turns out is, for some reason, it's got left-hand drive headlights in. So we're not really sure why a UK right-hand drive car would have left-hand drive headlights in. The only thing we can think that it's been used abroad in Europe maybe. But the beam pattern on both of them flicks to the left. But the good thing is, you phone up BMW and you can still get brand new right-hand drive headlights. So when they're side by side, you can see the triangle's this way on this one, right-hand drive, and it's on the left on the other one. So we'll swap these over and then we'll be back to full right-hand drive. And that's the old lenses popped off the housing. They pop off pretty easy. They just clip in these little cups and they're in 3 points. And they're around here, they clip into these balls, and 2 of them are adjustable, and that's how you get your beam pattern, because they wind in and out, and that's what tilts the whole housing around to get your beam pattern up, down, left and right. But what I've just discovered, something that was a bit strange, is you've got an H7 bulb in, which is a normal headlight bulb for a car, for dip beam and main beam. So they swap over fine, and that just clips in, like that. So this is all just like a normal car that clips in, like that. But the side light's a bit of a weird setup, because this is like, got a little contact, push button contact, and then this pops out and goes in, like that. But what I noticed when taking them out is you've actually got 4 pins in here, but only 3 are used. So we've got dip beam, main beam and side lights, but then this is a 4-pin plug. But then when you go back to this and put the housing on the back, which is this, only 3 of the pins are used, and it doesn't actually line up with all 3 pins of the H7 bulb. So when that's on and that clicks onto the bulb like that, you've got the dip beam and your earth, but the bottom one is actually for the side light. So when that's on like that, underneath it shares the earth, and then the contact goes on there. So there's nothing in the main beam on the smaller headlights, so that filament is never used, which is a bit strange. So that goes back on, and then it's got like a locking collar that goes on the top, secures all that, and it should just pop back on to the housing. But if it was mine, because I like the OEM Plus, I think I'd put an extra terminal on, so we actually use the whole H7 bulb. Then we could have main beam on the small ones and the big ones. It'd look pretty cool. I'll just grease the adjusters up and I'll run them all the way in and all the way out, because these new headlights are going to need setting up. But I think I'll base it to start with where it started. 2, 3. And it's all back in place. And then we can put our adapter on. That. And something I've just noticed on the main beam, which hasn't got a dip beam or anything in, that's actually got 3 terminals on. And it's got a normal headlight plug on it, although that's only got 2 terminals on. So it looks like this has got an adapter as well. So yeah, one of the terminals aren't used on that. And that's just got a normal H1 single pin bulb. What a strange setup. Guess before things were standardised. So we've got 3 terminals on this one, but only 2 are used. And we've got 3 on this one, but there should be 4 because main beam's not used. Right, let's get it back in the car. All back in. It should have side light, main beam. So it's strange that the outers don't use that extra main beam, even though the bulb is in it. Never mind. And all back together. Fully right-hand drive. Shame the inners look a bit old now. That should solve our problem now. And I've just got the new drop links on. So they're all installed. I've got the coolant all done, bled up. So now we're full of brand new genuine antifreeze. So I think we can get it back down for its proper MOT. is MOT time. See how it gets on. And that is back from MOT, and we have a pass. So that's its first MOT since 2009, 14 years ago. I love working on these old luxury cars from the 80s because everything is so analog. When you're fault finding, you follow through all the switches, all the wires, all the relays. Instead of like a modern car, all the information just goes into a module and you have no idea where it goes or what it does. So now we can get this one back to the customer and he can start using it, and we'll see what it thinks of this modern Air. So what I said at the beginning about this not being the one from the other episode, things might get a little confusing soon because we've actually got that car in here at the same time. We're taking the engine out of that one for a rebuild. So I'll film the first half of that episode and then this one's come in. And then when we get the engine back from the rebuild, I'll be filming the second half of that episode. So that'll be coming out after this one. So it's quite funny having such a rare and sought after car. We've got two identical ones on site at the moment. It's been great looking around this one with it being so original and finding all those old part numbers, all those old date codes, and every single part of this car is genuine BMW. So that's a real credit to how the previous owners have kept it. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Make sure you give it a like and be sure to tune in next time. Even if you're just an M5 fan, we've got the other one in, which has gone down to a bare block. So make sure you join us for that. But until next time, make sure you have fun.